Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar on remote working in a crisis and how we can prepare for what's been termed the new normal. But let's first do some quick introductions. So I'm Amy Stokes-Waters. I work for Identity Experts as an identity and security specialist, and with me today is Harold.
Hi, good afternoon, morning everyone, evening. I'm Harold Curtin. I'm the CEO of a company called IT Exact, and excited to show you what we can do with some of our tooling today.
Yeah, so we'll have a quick run through some slides that I've prepared, and then Harold's going to do a demo of the solution. So let's get started. So with coronavirus, I hope to not say this word too many times during this webinar, but we've all been hit by coronavirus, and with that has come a very sudden change in our working practices. So we've been, for the most part, forced to work from home. So all of our people have moved from the office into their respective homes. Hopefully not all together like on this image here, but in their own house. And with them has gone their devices. The computers that they previously had in the office, they've kind of disappeared. And as they've moved home, they all need access to the applications that they were previously accessing from the office. So how do they get access to those? Well, we've put them into the cloud. So what's kind of the situation so far? So there was a study last month of 32 CXOs across 10 industries, and they were asked about the positives and negatives of this new the new remote working situation that we've all found ourselves in, and kind of the impacts of coronavirus on their business practices. So if we start with the negatives and then we can end on a positive, which will be good. So we start with the negatives. So the first one is that people are seeing a big decline in sales performance. 80% of UK service companies and 75% of manufacturers said that they saw a drop in activity over the last 6 weeks. Some people are worried about there being an inability to resume production. And obviously there's the fact that we're unable to go out and see our customers, especially as a salesperson. I love going out to see clients, getting that face-to-face time. Obviously that's diminished, although we have seen a big increase in the use of Teams or other conferencing technology. Teams saw a 775% increase in usage. So we are doing, I guess, a virtual face-to-face, but the real life handshaking and all that good stuff, that's kind of gone out the window. But the positives, so there's been a lot of improved long distance collaboration, so an improvement in the ability of our employees to collaborate whilst not being together. So a drive in that use of things like Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, all those good collaboration tools that kind of facilitate working together even though we're not in the same office. We've also seen better online marketing and better business development. I mean, we're doing a lot more webinars. I know there's the Leeds Digital Festival coming up soon. That's been moved to a virtual platform rather than in real life. So there's been a lot more activity online around marketing and business development. And then there's also the recognition of the value of digital transformation. So employees are now understanding the value of the IT team in an organisation and kind of all the effort that we put in behind the scenes to enable remote working and to get people onto more modern technology. Obviously the negatives, once lockdown's finished, we will hope to see those fade out and we'll be left with the positives moving forwards into our new normal. So the collaborating long distance, we expect that to continue. Our teams won't have to be in the office. They'll still be able to collaborate even if they continue working from home for a prolonged period of time. And we'll continue to get better at producing digital marketing content and engaging with our customers online. So that'll hopefully see the switch in that decline in sales performance towards an upward trend. And fingers crossed for all the IT guys that the employees will continue to recognise why IT is such a critical business function, and will continue to praise us for all the great work that we've done. That would be lovely. So the new normal, what do we think that will look like? Well, we expect that a lot more services will move into the cloud. There's some more servers, there we go, flying up into the cloud. A lot of people are doing a bit of a lift and shift straight into public cloud. And a lot of companies that I've spoke to recently who are working in private cloud At the moment, they're migrating a lot of their services into Azure, so we do expect that area to grow. We don't think it'll be the demise of the office, but as we saw there, the office space we think will probably go down. There'll be fewer people working there full time. So the cloud piece and the home piece, we expect those they look set to stay, especially given the fact that we've been told, we might have to social distance for over a year. Fingers crossed not, because I'm sure we'd all quite like to go to the pub. But if we're stuck inside, then yeah, we expect it to kind of look like this. And we think that, businesses will have to try and get back to some kind of normality, and we kind of expect it to look a little bit like this. We also think that businesses will probably see that they can save quite a lot of money on not having to have lots of physical office space. If we can be productive from home, then we should continue to do that as well. So where does all of this leave businesses? In the short term, i.e. as the coronavirus pandemic continues, we're seeing the security of rapid digital transformation being a bit of an issue. So we've done a lot of we've implemented a lot of remote working capabilities. We've had to do it very quickly. There's some questions around whether those environments have been properly secured. Are staff using their own devices? What data are people accessing? How do we know that the identities are secured? So there's quite a few potential issues around that. Obviously, there's the risk to employee health. If staff are working in areas affected by coronavirus, then we want to ensure that they're okay. We don't want staff to be off sick or to not be able to come back to work. We want to understand the risk levels associated with where they're based as well. So if that is in the UK, abroad, are they likely to be off work? Are they going to be in a lockdown situation? Should we be expecting them to work from home? We've also got security considerations around our furloughed staff. So in the UK, obviously, we've had the ability to furlough a lot of staff for 80% of their pay, and a lot of people have taken that opportunity up. So if our staff are not working, then they're not using their accounts. Have we left those licenses active? Because if we're leaving all of those, if we're leaving all of their licensing active, that could lead to a potential security risk, as well as giving us an unnecessary bill at the end of the month for licenses that we're not necessarily using. Maintaining productivity as well. So, we're moving to use more collaborative tools like Microsoft Teams. We want to ensure that the users are able to remain as productive as they were in the office. I mean, some people might be more productive at home without having to do all the traveling to and from. But we want to ensure that we are maintaining levels of productivity so that our business can keep ticking over in this very, very strange time. In the longer term, we think this new normal will leave us with more remote workers, like we've said, and a workforce using a big diverse range of devices. So, BYOD is quite a big topic at the moment. So the challenges around the longer term, we think, may be along the lines of employee engagement. So ensuring staff are engaging with our IT capabilities. If we need to roll out new solutions to remote workers when they're not in the office, we need to know that they're adopting any new technology we're rolling out. It'd be good if we could monitor the usage of any of these new technologies and understand the data on consumption to drive those adoption and change management processes as well. There's also automation of repetitive or administrative tasks. So we're writing a white paper on what the new normal will look like. So we've had some feedback from organisations that says they'll be looking to automate more processes going forward. These could be things like admin tasks or some related to identities and securities as well. So capabilities like automated incident response. So if you want to remediate threats like phishing attacks, that's quite a good candidate. As well as obviously the join and move a lever process for your identities that takes the pressure off the service desk, removes the risk of human error with that provisioning and deprovisioning of those user accounts. There's also the better management of licensing. It's expected that as we move into the new normal, we'll be seeing shifting priorities, and spending is likely to be a bit more reserved. And I'd imagine that a lot of organisations will be looking to evaluate the overheads that they've got. So they'll need a solution that can optimise licensing, optimise the cloud estates, and ensure that they're not necessarily, that they're not spending unnecessarily. We've also got better management of resources. So it's not just virtual property like software licensing that people will be looking to optimize. We spoke earlier on the fact that we expect office spaces to get smaller, and that remote working is going to be a bit of a long-term strategy. So we want to understand whether that office space is going to be emptier, because if it's going to be, we want to understand basically how productive our employees are from home, and when we come out the other side of this, will we need to have the same amount of office space? If we can reduce that office space but maintain those same levels of productivity, then that'd be a bonus, right? So how can we help? There are a few offerings that we've got, so let's have a quick look through them. So the first one, being called identity experts, we have got the knowledge to help you with a whole host of identity challenges, clues in the name. So some of these challenges, things like automating the join and move reliever process, that'll give you a tick in the, if you automate your join and move reliever process, that'll give you a big tick in the box for securing your staff accounts. It'll also tick off this automated processes issue here in the longer term items. We've also got Azure Active Directory and Intune, so if we use those together, those can help to secure your digital transformation by facilitating that remote working solution, allowing users to remain productive but also ensuring data security. And finally, the reason we're here today talking to Harold is the use of Surveil Slim. So Slim, that's security licensing and identity management. Harold's going to give you a demo in a few minutes of what those capabilities are, but I can tell you that it will help with the majority of issues we have here on the screen. So if I just quickly flick through these ticks, Surveil Slim will help with securing the rapid digital transformation. We can show you some dashboards around risk to employees' health. So we've got tracking of COVID-19 data across the world. We can use it for security considerations for furloughed staff, maintaining productivity. There's a whole employee engagement piece in there, understanding how people are interacting with the technologies that we're giving them. Also, there's the better management of licensing, which we spoke about on a previous webinar, and we will show you on this one as well. And then there's also the better management of resources. So obviously we talked around whether people will be more productive from home. So we'll be able to see which employees work better outside of the office, which helps to really inform that strategy for the longer term about whether we downsize our office space. So a little bit more about Surveil Slim. Like I said, it stands for Security, Licensing, Identity Management. So what does it do? It allows us to analyze our current usage. So we want to understand current license usage, and Slim does that with easy to view dashboards showing things like user adoption stats, consumption rates, pricing, and those are the dashboards are aimed at various levels within the organization, so CXOs, IT teams, HR teams, etc. We also want to reduce our business spend. So there's dashboards in there which show where real savings can be made across CSP subscriptions, as well as predictive licensing spend for enterprise agreements. It'd be great if we could free up some cloud storage. So Slim works not just for M365, but also for Azure. So you can use Slim to review your Azure consumption. It can show you where you can optimize your cloud estate and really drive that cloud first strategy. We want to improve security, so understanding our joiners and leavers in a single pane of glass. That's really going to be helpful from that kind of standpoint. Enhancing our MI, so management information, with in-depth reports which use Power BI dashboards natively within the Surveil tool. You don't need to be licensed yourself for Power BI, but you can still take advantage of those in-depth reports there. Obviously, with our workplace moving to the home, we want to embrace the new normal. And with Slim, we can see where our workers are in the country. We can monitor their usage of Office 365 and Azure, and we can ensure that we maintain that employee engagement and the user adoption of that technology stack. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Harold so he can give you a quick demo.
Thank you, Amy. And I'm going to share my screen. If you could just let me know, Amy, if you can see it. I think it should be any minute now.
Yeah, it's there. We can see it.
Great. So as Amy has given you an introduction on the tool, thank you very much for that. Just a little bit about the backend. This is a full SaaS service. So it's multi-tenant. For those of you who are providers or partners out there, it has a back-end administration portal, so you can manage your customers through that. Or if you're a direct customer, we service both, and actually it's a single pane of glass, and you get the same capability whether you're an end customer or whether you're a partner. Just on the partner side, obviously you need to manage multiple customers, so there's an administration portal to do that. Surveil Slim is all about cost management and then security, license, and identity management. And we cover two areas. We cover Azure and we cover Office 365. I'm not going to go through the Azure piece today. I'm really going to drill into the Office 365 side. Onboarding is really easy. For the Office 365, we literally just need an admin to go and click on this button here that says sign in using Microsoft. And we only use the Microsoft Azure credentials. We're hosted in Azure. We use all of the Microsoft technologies to secure us. And we use your Active Directory or your customer's Active Directory only. So we don't store passwords within the platform. If you haven't registered before, if you clicked on this button, it'll ask you to register. I am registered, so it's going to go in. I'm in a UAT environment, some customers. I'm just going to go into one of them as a demo environment and start showing the tool. Now, the overall dashboard is as I mentioned, there's for Azure, there's CSP providers if you're a provider itself, Office 365, there's risk and governance. So as Amy mentioned, security side of things. I'm going to take you again to the Office 365. Just a little bit about this environment. So we connect to a number of different data sources to get this information, and we build up our own intelligence as well within the platform. So we will connect to typically the Microsoft Graph type features. We would connect to Azure AD. We would connect to Microsoft Security, so Security Center. We would connect to Advanced Threat Protection, a number of different sources to learn about individuals. So if you typically look from a usage point of view, if we say a user is inactive, actually we've looked at a number of things to make that statement. We don't just look at Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, Yammer, and Skype. We take that a lot further. And if you look inside of, for example, an E5 license package, you've got up to 38 different SKUs within that. We look at the bulk of those SKUs. So we will actually tell you if you're using Power BI Pro, or we'll tell you if you're using Advanced eDiscovery, or you need to use Advanced eDiscovery, or you need to be licensed for Advanced eDiscovery, or whether you're using Intune or Windows Defender ATP. It doesn't really matter. The underlying, we tell you all the components about it. We also look at your AD in general, so we can tell you your migration status. And then we look at also all of the usage and behaviors around the different products that Microsoft has. So how much are you using the Flow platform as an example? How much are you using Power BI Pros? Kind of things you wouldn't get. And then, of course, a real deep dive on how people are using the collaboration tools, Teams, Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, how much are they using externally, internally. We bring all that together, but more importantly as well, we bring costs into it. So it doesn't matter whether you're CSP, if you've got a CSP provider on the tool, and we've got a lot of great providers out there with us, and LSPs, or if you're EA. Now, EA can be quite complex. We really simplify that for you. So we put in all the EA details into here through a special onboarding engine. And at the end of the day, what you see is cost. And I'm just going to show you a very quick example here before I go into the analytics side of the kind of backend connectivity we do. So I'm viewing all the licenses in this environment. I can see what the costs are on a 30-day basis up here. And I might want to say, right, tell me a little bit more about, so anything with tag in front of it is what we've cleaned up and created. It could be any custom tag, whatever your business needs. And then one of them could be COVID status, right? And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But one of the known fields within Azure AD is company name, and maybe user last sign-in location, which is a Microsoft generated field, so you actually detect where they are. Now I want to sort this data rather by user company name and last sign-in location. So now what I get is what's from Active Directory and associated costs. This is looking a little bit messy, and as in the case with most companies, it's really difficult to keep Active Directory clean. Quite critical to keep it clean from a security point of view. We need to know exactly where we've got issues, and certainly from an internal cost allocation perspective, or as a partner provider, how you're billing your customers. So we want to clean that up. So we've used our AI tagging engine, and we've built a complete cleanup version of that. And that one there is now, let's say, called Tag Line of Business. And I'm going to bring that across there. And let me just take away the existing 81. Now I've cleaned it up and it's looking a lot better. This is sales and marketing costs. That's consulting, operations and security. And I can see in operations and security, those are my countries. So this is just a very quick dashboard view. And if I want this data, I want to give that to my financial controller, or I want to give that to my customer, I can click the button. We have other partners as well. We can automatically feed this into the CSP provisioning, and you can go and remove licenses. So the full onboarding process we interface as well into a partner does. At the bottom here, you can see another view of tags, and you can see maybe, let's say, by lines of business again, we can see that operations and security costs have gone up by 3% compared to the previous period. So we're looking at 30 days. So the previous month was £779. It's now £803. It's been an increase of 3%. Again, just an overview screen. We have financial operations in that we show you your EA costs. We actually break it down to you really simply. We show you what your reservations are, so there's no more surprises at the end of the year. It's really important during COVID. Everyone's trying to save money. And also we show you what reservations you put in place, so anything unbudgeted that comes in there. More importantly in these times is we recommend to you how you can save money. Now, this year we have around about 30 rules in here that automatically detect this for you. So we will tell you when we think there's an account that is a printer, that should be maybe an exchange only account. We can tell you people are using distribution groups and they got an E5 license assigned against it. That really just needs to be an exchange only account. And you can drill into all sorts of levels of detail, but right up front, we're showing you what you're capable of saving, £19,000. The biggest one we find with all customers is inactive users, and especially now in COVID times, as Amy mentioned, really understanding who's inactive, and we'll do that automatically for you. But within any one of these dashboards, we have got high levels of details. You can go into any one of these, you can do drill throughs, you can go right down to a user level of details, you can export that, do whatever you need to do with it. So all the recommendations are there. We show you, we can set alerts, we show you groups, devices, how licenses have been assigned. Let's talk a little bit about how this gets relevant to the world we're in today, maybe the new normal. Amy mentioned, and I think it's so important, there will never be maybe I'm wrong, I've got to touch wood here. There will never be a time again where we have had an opportunity to understand how a business operates solely remotely, right? There's never been a better time, and especially seeing the difference in operation. So what we do with this tool set, as soon as you are onboarded, or as soon as you've onboarded your customers, that simple little click in the beginning, we start collecting information about you, right? So we will understand Teams usage, SharePoint usage, Power BI Pro usage, Flow usage, doesn't matter, right? Intune, how many devices are connecting now through Intune, how many were before, authentication. We also we have security in here as well. We understand the cloud apps you're connecting to. So what cloud apps were you using when you're on site? What cloud apps were you using when you're working remotely? What's important to your people? Also, what we can do through is a manual tagging process. So I might, for example, say, right, in this case here, I want to add a tag against this person. So HR can log in, and this is multi-roles, multi-tenant. You can set access rights, so somebody only has access to this menu item. It's all in your control. But I might want to add in a tag and say, actually, this person, if I look at their long-term leave status, and this is just a manual tag I went and created. You could put any classification here, you could put your own wording in here, but this person is on furlough, right? And by the way, I know they're on furlough, but at the same time, they were also, let's say, for example, they were actually on maternity leave, quite possible. So I can say that I now have that information in here. And as a company, HR might have entered this, IT may have entered it, individuals may have entered it. We've got in the next release a Teams agent coming out for this. So a Teams bot, so you can do all of this kind of reporting in that, especially as a help desk. You can see straight in your Teams bot all the information you want about an individual, whether, everything, what they've connected to, what their access rights are, what internet access they've had, what licenses, what plans they're on, etc. But I can also then go in here, and I've done this employee, was it not the employee type, sorry, long-term leave, I want to see who's on furlough, and there's the entry that I just added in a little while ago. And this again goes into all of the analytics reports. On the analytics side, we've got, if you look at C-level dashboards, we've got dashboards for IT staff, we've got dashboards for analysts. It depends who you are, what kind of information you want to get to. But most importantly, in this case, we're trying to understand people's behaviors, people's productivity, what is important to people. We also want to understand the COVID dashboards and the relevance with COVID, and I'll take you to that in a minute. But I'll just show you, I'm actually going to show you one of our custom dashboards, so you can build your own custom ones in here. We have got productivity, but here, for example, we've just put one in here custom. This could be your own analytics. We've got this all in the tool, but I just want to show you something maybe around usage trends. So we want to say, right, we want to see a little bit more about Teams trends. Let me just minimize that. And in the Teams trends, you've got high-level summaries by department, by division. This is your departments down here. You might want to see this for the consulting division, right? Or if I take that away, I might want to see this as a detailed country view. And so now what you're suddenly seeing is all your trends on private chats, for example, by country. We can see in South Africa, there's a lot of proactiveness around the amount of Teams chats, or it might be per account, which is a lot more relevant as opposed to total amount of accounts. In that case, we can see a lot of collaboration on chatting coming from India. And then if you want to, in some of these, you might want to drill in and you can go into your divisions within that country, or you can flick it the other way around and see it by your lines of business and see what countries they're operating in and see the same sort of stats. So there's a very high level, and this goes across Exchange, email, SharePoint, you name it. So it really helps you with your adoption. It helps you to understand if people are using Teams now, who do I need to go and train? What we've done with this data and more is we've then taken this and put this into relevance with COVID. So what is relevant with COVID? Well, of course, number one is COVID. I need to understand more about COVID, who's impacted, which areas are impacted, do I have staff over there? So I'm in the UK, I live in Surrey. I want to know, has Surrey improved, got better, got worse? Can I send people into our office in Surrey, right? Or do I need to keep them at home longer as a company? Because I may want to make decisions independent of the government. Of course, if the government says you can't send them to the office, you can't. But when they say you can, how do you go back? Also, again, understanding what is the new normal, right? So we'll be able to see, if you're connected here, we'll go back in history and show you how your trends have changed over time. And when we go back, how those trends change. And you then have a wealth of information to go and understand better around what you can do with this information. So we've produced this into COVID dashboards. So first, what I'm going to show you here is automatically, we will show you on a daily basis who are your home workers, who are your office workers, right? And if you're a big company, we can do a manual import of your VPN locations, and we'll show you office, home, and VPN, right? This level that you're seeing here is the levels of report lines. So if you are a company with 10 levels down, we'll show you all 10 levels. You can filter by them. You can filter by cities. You can filter by, so where is my development, right? And we'll go into the development, and you can hover over it and just get a bit more information about it. You may want to see that as a trend and say, right, actually tell me a little bit more about this trend of home workers. So I'm going to say on the operations and security side, I can see there's my daily rate. This is home working. So 100%, but these 3 days they've been not home working. And that could be for two reasons. You know, that could be because you've gone to the office, or maybe also you're doing work on Teams while you're in Marks and Spencer's. But you're seeing trends here now that you can see how have things changed. And in this case here, and it's very difficult to see with a smaller environment. Maybe I can flick up, no, I won't flick it up now. But when you see this across 15,000 users or 160,000 users, the trend has been quite interesting. So certainly what we're seeing is that there is a massive increase in the amount of meetings. So this trend is exactly as per that line. However, it's skewed in this case of this data set across massive companies. We've seen the trend of chats in Teams coming down, right? And we're certainly seeing the trend of email send receive going down, right? So the one that's increasing is meetings. Now, you may say that's obvious or that's not obvious. This is factual, right? And then you can break it down. Maybe that trend isn't the same in India as it is in Singapore, as it is in the UK, as it is in the US, right? So you want to break those down. Maybe you want to break it down by lines of business. Maybe you want to have different sort of filters in there and break it down further. So we also show you the devices. I'm flicking through, I'm missing some screens, but we will go and show you, for example, yesterday on all your devices, what you've been using. You've got 12 operating systems, 40 device browsers, etc. And you'll be able to get information on what operating systems those are. COVID countries, this is now where we start getting really interesting. So we can see here as a summary, I don't know if you remember when I went and created the tags to show who's on furlough. You can also create a tag to say this person's on COVID, confirmed COVID, self-isolation, COVID, self-quarantine, etc. So we've got 17 people in this company that are in one form or the other. I could click on them and immediately see where that is, right? So I can see, okay, there's 2 people that are quarantined at the moment in the UK. What is the situation in the UK? So all I have to do, I don't have to go look for the market research. I can get the COVID quarantine status in different countries as I need it, right? I've just got to take away the selection here, sorry. And I'll go and get the filters over there. And if I go and hover over the countries, I can see there's my COVID status. I've got 4 people in quarantine in the UK. And I can see over here, recovered is 6.4% increase on the previous day. Actually, that's probably a good thing. I might want to start considering moving staff in the UK back into the offices in general. But I do see that in terms of active, minus 5%, also good news. In terms of death, up 0.8%, but maybe it's not a good idea. But you can break that down. Now, if you're in the US, you could break that down by state and start seeing the relevance by state. And you can actually go and hover over any one of these. And incidentally, in the back end, we're collecting multitudes of COVID information. We only get it from reliable sources like the World Health Organization, like the NHS, like the top research universities. But we bring it all together and then display it in here. And I might want to say I want to see this for the last week. And I can go and see information for the last week by states. If I hover over there, I'll get information on that particular state. I can see their deaths as 24, massive jump down, probably, with small numbers. I may also want to go and say I want to search in the UK. I want to know what's happening over here because I've got home workers sitting in Surrey. So I select UK and I might want to go and look at Surrey more particularly. Let me go down to Surrey. So again, this can be maximized. You could put this on a touch screen inside a boardroom. If I now go and dig in, I can see the information there for Surrey. I can hover over it and I will get all sorts of information about Surrey over the period that I've selected. So if I select the last week and I hover over Surrey, I'll get different information around the status of COVID in Surrey. As a global organization, I might want to have a higher level overview. And in this case here, you can see that now. And from this, I can make some decisions. I can say, well, I've got home workers in these countries or in these towns or in these cities. I know how many now. The tool's telling me exactly who's at home. Incidentally, any one of these screens can be exported into a CSV. There's an API for you to connect to, so you can suck it out of the tool or push into the tool. There's lots of ways to get the data to you. Over here now, we might say, right, if I look at the Spain, actually, compared to the previous day in the last week, has been a 17.7% increase on deaths, on actives, sorry. So Spain, I've got to be really cautious about, but there's some good ones here. Maybe it's coming down in Israel, I see. Mexico, I want to avoid at the moment. But, if I look at Morocco could be a place that I could start considering staff, or I can at least see the trend is going down in Morocco. So again, without having to go anywhere else, in the boardroom with relevance. And then you've got the suite of information over here to help you in COVID times. One of the biggest ones, no doubt, is be able to say, show me non-active users, and this is in real time, that have got licenses assigned, right? There they are. There's 46 of them, right? There they are. This is proper inactive. We look at many sources of information to make an inactive decision. And right away, I can push export, and let me go and disable these accounts, right? They are a security risk. If I don't want to remove the license because they're under EA, I can't anyway, no problem. If I'm under CSP, I may be able to go and remove those licenses. And we have a partner we work with. We can feed this automatically to them, and they can remove the licenses for you. So you have a lot of joiners, leavers capability within that tool. It's so critical at these times. You've got other dashboards around joiners, leavers. You can go in here, and of course, we've got analytics around it showing back in your company the amount of time. So ours goes back in this test environment, so back to 2012. It'll show you all your history of joiners, leavers, and the different categories of joiners, leavers that you have. So you've got a suite of products. And last but not least, just to show you, on the Office 365, the same time, Amy mentioned security. You may want to know, for example, these are all my people with directory roles. I may have lost IT people that normally look at this because they're self-isolating or they don't have connectivity or something like that. At least I'm armed with information here. I've got 9 company administrators, 16 total, one of them without MFA. Let me go and investigate that. And I can also see what kind of apps my staff are logging into. So whether it is the consulting department, what kind of apps are they using? when last did they use them, a wealth of information around that. I think that's all I wanted to talk about, Amy. Hopefully that's been of use to you. Really excited to, we have incidentally, we have a free onboarding health check process. So if you want to just see your environment, please contact Amy and we can get you onto a free health check.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Harold. That was lovely. Very, very insightful there. We've had a few questions in the Q&A box as well. I'm just trying to share my screen back just to wrap up the slide. So just bear with me 1 second. Here we go. So yeah, like Harold said, we just want to talk around what the next steps are, and then we can look through those questions that we've got in there. So like Harold mentioned, we've got free health checks available. They will help you understand your current license estate. We can give you some recommendations on things that you could be doing, and it'll provide you with some dashboard reports, some high-level dashboard reports. Yeah, it just gives you a bit of a trial of the solution. And if you want to get in touch to learn a bit more about how we can support with your remote working, if you've got any questions around the new normal, if you've got any more questions around the Slim tool, and yeah, feel free to get in touch. My email address is at the bottom there, and we can have a conversation. So thank you everyone for listening. Let's just have a quick look at the questions that we got there. Harold, so one of the questions was, does Slim cover any technology other than M365 or Office 365, for example, things like Google?
No, so it doesn't. We're very much a Microsoft specialized environment. You saw the applications. We can tell you what other applications are being used, but we don't deep dive into them. From a development point of view, there's a reason we've done this. You know, the amount of learning and the amount of detail that goes into producing what you saw there, we can't replicate that across many vendors in the timeframes that the world is demanding at the moment. So we're very much a Microsoft specialized solution provider in this space, but we can of course give you some other generic background information on app usage and that type of thing.
Excellent. And then,
sorry, Amy, if I may add,
yeah?
It wasn't in the question, but we do, for example, give you monitoring of usage and across in detail of Dynamics. So obviously that's a Microsoft product, but it's not just Office 365, it is Dynamics. And then we also mentioned we do the full Azure suite, and actually we have a module for on-prem coming out in a month's time.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that one. We've also had a question asking, so Microsoft's starting to consolidate their portals with things like the MIP portal that pulls together all the threat data. And obviously there's things like the security center that bring together information from other bits of the subscription. So is this just an extension of what Microsoft are providing already?
Yeah, it is. So it does. It does exactly that. It brings it into the single pane of glass, so that and actually there's a security angle to this. So for example, your help desk, number one, they need to be able to log into Office 365 as an administrator to see what alerts, for example, on the go at the moment, see what events there are from Microsoft. Is Teams down? Are there problems in Exchange? We've made that a lot more secure. So from within the tool, you can see these alerts, and actually you only need read access to the 365 environment. So your help desk through this tool can see threats. They can, so if you've got a small SOC that's doing the monitoring for you, and also they can see all of the other sort of applications they're connecting to, no MFA connected, all through read access. So from a security point of view, you've secured it to another level. It means people do not have to have administrative access. But it's a single pane of glass. That's the angle. We're not trying to replicate what Security Center does. Our approach is to complement it.
Yeah, and I think with all of the cost analysis as well that we've got in there, and things like being able to predict your enterprise agreement pricing, that obviously improves upon some of the capabilities that Microsoft have made available currently. And does it integrate with Azure Sentinel?
Interesting question. It doesn't at the moment, but it's one of the things that Amy and I have been working extensively on, is integration to Sentinel. It's a very logical choice. We have an on-prem version, and we have a version of Slim that does a lot of backend integration, and we'll see the Sentinel integration coming through that. It's still very early days. We'll be excited to release it, but it's absolutely on the cards. It's not there yet.
Perfect. Well, I think that the questions answered in there. So thank you very much to everyone for listening. Thank you very much to Harold for presenting that demo for us, and hope everyone has a lovely afternoon.